Okay, I'm stepping out of line here a little bit. This is not a Christmas or staying sober at Christmas tip. I thought it was time to get a little personal with y'all, because for me, this season is a time of reflection back to how I used to be. So let me take you back. Um, November 18th, 2000, 2001. I was in the back seat of a Pontiac Grand Am. I did my last shot of heroin. And I remember feeling so cold and alone that the heroin almost didn't even work. And that's saying a lot. Um, the next morning, I had an appointment at the VA hospital, but sleeping in that car, it was an abandoned car with no wheels on it. It was in an alley in West Baltimore. And the day before that, a friend of mine had allowed me to stay at her apartment. And this is the miracle part that really, I hesitate to tell anyone because no one, well, anyway, it's my story, so I can tell you what I want. Friend of mine who I love to this day, um, paid cab fare for me to come over to her house. I had done a shot of dope, so I wasn't going to get sick, but I needed a place to stay. And she paid the cab fare, let me use her bed, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, she was like looking at me and tracing the lines in my face and stuff like that. And I remember saying, "Was I snoring?" She said, "Not yet." And then I fell back asleep. Now, here's the thing, she didn't remember that. But to me, that was a pivotal point of saving my life because she instilled in me that someone cared and I had hope, right? In my book, The Unholy Trinity, Me, Myself, and I wrote details on that. But anyway, so the next morning she drives me downtown and drops me off in West Baltimore. She said, "I thought you were going to the VA." I said, "I got one more day I got to survive before I get there." So she dropped me off hesitantly. Then I went to the Pontiac Grand Am, spent the night. Here's another miracle. Another friend of mine had given me her postal jacket to stay warm. United States Post Office. It was an official jacket, and in Baltimore at the time, if you had one of those jackets on, you could ride the bus free. Now, I did not look like I was supposed to be on any mail route, but the next morning I walked I walked off of Denison Avenue onto Route 40 that runs through West Baltimore. I got on the bus and the guy kind of looked at me, rolled his eyes, but said, "Get on." Took me to the VA. I went there after walking out of two detoxes in the same month from the VA hospital. Because back then, detoxing from heroin was barbaric. And so I asked them if I could get on the methadone program, and they set an appointment for me to meet to convince some doctors and board members that I was okay to do that. Somehow I convinced them. They gave me 35 milligrams of methadone. So here's where I neither condemn nor condone medically assisted treatment. For me, that's what I needed, and it worked. Um, I got 35 milligrams, so I knew I wasn't going to get sick. But then a decision had to be made. I didn't know where I was going to stay that night. The veterans are really good at guiding you, right? We're all outside smoking a cigarette. Somebody says, "Stay away from this mission, stay away from that place." But everybody was in agreement to go to the Helping Up mission in Baltimore. So I set off. I didn't know where I was going. Just kind of followed some vague directions and ended up at the back end of this. Uh, at the time, it was a rundown facility, right? I'm waiting in line because you had to be there at a certain time. There were rats this big out behind the alley, and I walked in, And I had a baseball hat on and a bag, kind of like a computer bag with one t-shirt in it. That's all I had. I couldn't contact anyone in my family. They weren't taking my calls at that point. I walked I walked up to the counter and I said, "What do I do now?" And the guy said, "First of all, you take your hat off. You're in the house of the Lord." Uh, so I did. And I was whisked downstairs where you take a shower. That's not a question. You have to turn in your old clothes, get a set of new clean clothes. And then I ate one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. And by the time I was sitting in the chapel, which is another mandatory thing, churches would come in and give us a sermon. Guys telling us all about Jesus and everything. By then, I already had it. I already knew that after all the relapses I'd had, all the failures I'd had in staying sober, I was done. It's like Jesus said, "You're done. You're working for me." Right? A few days later, I ended up working for the Baltimore Sun, and by that I mean I was selling their newspapers on the corner of Lexington and Calvert, making 12 cents a paper. First day I made $18.75. It was the best paycheck I've ever had to date. So I just wanted to share what this season means to me, because that was in November. Christmas, I wasn't able to see my family, but they knew I was okay. God is good. If you don't believe in miracles, just talk to me. I am a living, breathing miracle. I died once for 4 minutes. Recovery works, and God is good. And my prayer goes out to all those who are suffering right now. I pray that you get in somewhere, right? Um, I love what I do. I try to help others stay off the path I got on, or once they're on their path, I try to help them get off. Anyway, thanks for letting me get personal with y'all. Um, there's much more to the story, but I've already run way over time. Um, you guys have a great day, and please, when you look at an addict or a bum on the street or something, everybody's got a story. Don't judge, pray. Okay? All right. God bless you all.